Hi, I'm Pat Nash, and I want to speak to you a little bit about dreams, about hope, about maybe giving up or wondering why you haven't moved forward. Someone asked me, how did you get here to be a relationship coach? It actually came out of a need for myself and what I observed looking around after I asked myself a couple of questions. Why was I not doing the things that I wanted to do? Why had I gone through divorce? Why am I not doing anything that I set out to do? You see, as a teenager, as a young person, doing pretty well in high school, I had all of these dreams set out for me. I was going to take over the world. But at some point, life happened. I realized I was not the only one. You see, there's a lot of us who stopped hoping, who stopped dreaming, who stopped chasing our dreams or going after our dreams because we don't have to chase anything. When we look internally and figure out what it is that's holding us back, the sky's the limit, and you don't have to chase anything. You attract it. Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Pat Nash Talks. I'm your host, Pat Nash, and this is the place where we have the conversations that create real relationships. Yes. So tonight, as you noticed, I don't have a guest. I'm not sitting on my couch. I am at a different location. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit, though. I promise you, this is going to be some good quality stuff. So take notes that you're going to need. Let me give you some background on this, okay? Tonight, we're going to talk about ugly cheats, right? Ugly cheats. I know you're like, what is she talking about? Ugly cheats. And we're going to talk about other myths that are not, well, a myth is something that is said, but it's not necessarily true. Other myths about relationships. We're going to talk about that tonight. So I'm going to dive right in. I know time is valuable. It's Sunday night. I know you have 101 things to do. So do I. And please pop on. When you pop on, say hi. And I'm going to be a lot more active with you tonight. I'll tell you why later. So anyway, we're going to talk about myths in relationships. So I had the pleasure today to speak to a young man. That's what I call him. And his name is Zaki in St. Louis, and he is brilliant. I mean, I'm saying smart. He is, because he's a traveler, he's world traveled. He is an advocate for the people. He is an educator. So those kind of people and those kind of relationships that I'm building and I'm putting together are incredible. So he's going to talk to you soon. I'm going to have him on the show, and we're going to talk about relationships because he's been married 48 years. And it was so cool that I got a chance to talk to him before I started this, right? Because I'm going to use some things that he said and some things that I have learned in the past about relationships, okay? I know y'all wondering where I'm looking at. I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure you get this. So let me give you a little background on why this subject came up. So I was talking to my good friend. It could have been Angee. I think it was Angee, or it may have been someone else. But I was talking to them. And shout out to Angee, you guys. She produces these shows from some amazing places. I don't know if she would know I could tell you this. She's at a football game producing this show. Anyway, but she has it all under control, and I just love it. All I have to do is show up and halfway look decent and have a good conversation. So we're going to have a good conversation tonight about relationships. Y'all know I tell you all the time, relationships are the currency of life. You got some good relationships, you're wealthy. You're just wealthy. I don't care how much money you have. You got good quality relationships that bring you peace, that encourage you. You're wealthy. You guys, I am beyond wealthy because I have learned and I have surrounded myself with people who believe in what I do, who accept me as I am. Not saying that there's not room for improvement, because there is. A lot of times I hear it said all the time, the biggest room in the world is room for improvement. And I constantly do that. I'm always learning more about myself and learning more about other people and how to communicate and how to tell people the things that I'm finding out. You guys, these are things I'm finding out. I want good quality relationships. I want good business relationships. I want good relationships with my family, with my children, with my grandchildren, with people who work with me, with my boo, my life partner. I want great relationships because I know they enrich you. They give you peace. For you out there who are struggling with a, relationship that is not all it can be right now, please listen in. And if you know someone who is struggling with something, share some of these things with them. Send some shows to them. That's all I talk about. And that is my passion. And I'm going to stay in my lane as much as possible. I don't care who I speak to on my platform and what we're talking about and what their background is. I promise you it's going to roll back around to good quality relationships. Hey, everyone, because I believe in them, right? So let's start out with myths, things that are not true about relationships. We're going to get to the ugly thing later because, you have these women that will crack jokes and say, I'm a date an ugly man, so he won't be cheating and people won't be after my man. Or men will say, I'm a date an ugly woman because, well, I'm going to say that one for last. So let's dive right in tonight. Myth number one, and I promise you I've said this before. I know I have because I said it in real life everyday stuff, and I've said it here in real life conversations. Number one, no one can read your mind. And I promise you we will have 10,000 discussions about this, and we will have people who are disagreeing and all of that. But I am moving toward good relationships, I'm telling you, and I haven't found one person yet who can read my mind and that I can read their mind. Now, there are some clues and some things that you pick up, but even in that, if you think about it, if you assume some things, you know what that means. You can very well assume wrong because if you don't ask and they don't tell you, you are basing someone else's actions or what they said on your beliefs. So, number one myth, they can't read your mind. Be willing to communicate, to talk to them. I feel a certain way. What you said makes me feel this way, not you made me feel this way. How many of you know nobody has the power to make you feel anything? You have to make that decision to feel that on your own. However, if they've said or done something that causes you to have those feelings, share it. Just share it. Just say, hey, I don't know what you meant by that, but let me tell you how it made me feel. Feelings are real. They're not facts. So you might feel that somebody don't like you, or you might feel somebody don't care for you. Doesn't have to be a fact, but those are real feelings. So number one, nobody can read your mind. Be willing to share and tell people what you're thinking. And if you know you can't share that in a kind way where they can receive your feelings without lashing back or feeling attacked, wait until you're able to do that. I always say table it. You don't have to talk about everything right now. Talk about it when you know you can verbalize it without being angry. So number one, no one can read your mind. Share how you feel. Number two, a good relationship is going to have to be 50-50. You're dooming yourself to failure. I'm telling you, I'd be willing to put a lot of money on it. You're dooming yourself to failure. There's never going to be a 50-50, everything split down. I don't care if you're dividing pennies. It's never going to be a 50-50. When you show up, you have to be willing and ready to show up 100% of who you are. Doesn't mean that you have all the money or that you're willing to pay for everything. It's not just about money. It's about attitude. It's about what you contribute in effort, energy, time. Throw away the 50-50 thing. Either be willing to show up 100% and meet that person where they are or at their limit or what they can do, or be willing to work together, or that's not going to be good for the relationship. So ain't no such thing as 50-50. Number three, romance is going to always be natural forever. Wrong. It's not going to always be natural forever. Like when you start out, of course, it could be natural because you really want this person to see your heart. You really want to expose yourself to them. So you're showing up and you're doing all these sweet things because I need this person to know that I like them, that, hey, I don't like to cook, but you come over, I'm cooking for you because I want you to know I like you, right? So, yeah, you're going to get food, dessert, all kind of stuff. But I will be honest and say, hey, y'all normally cook because I got to eat. It ain't my passion. It ain't my love. It ain't my desire. But if I have a taste for something, and I know you have a taste for it, I can get in there and whip it up and it's going to be good. But that is not my passion. So if I'm cooking for you, it's because I am going out of my way and out of myself and out of my comfort zone to make sure you know how I feel about you. So romance is not always natural. It's a choice. You can still continue to do it, but it's not going to be natural forever, right? So come with me on this. Not going to be natural forever, but you can still choose to do it. Number 4, your relationships will mirror your parents. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. So let me tell you how this came about. Some people are like, before you get in a relationship, go check out the family tree. Go look to see if they had parents who were in a great, healthy relationship. If their parents were married for a long time. Go see if, look at the parents because the apple doesn't always fall far from the tree. I hate to tell you this. There are times when that apple looks like an orange coming from the apple tree. I'm telling you. And it's sometimes on purpose. How many of you know you look at your parents sometimes and be like, I'm never being them? And I'm not saying that's my situation. There's a lot of things in my parents' life that I want. They fought, but they always got back together. They wasn't going nowhere. They were committed to each other, I should say. They loved each other. I mean, they had babies every 8-10 months. So, anyway, they had a natural affection for each other. I like that. But there are some things I saw and I purposely want to be different. And as much as I love my mother, and my mother gave I said I need to write a whole book on her wisdom and some things that she said. She was hilarious, but she was honest with us. I had a mother who talked to us, right? She talked to us about real life stuff. But I'm a woman and she talked to me as a woman. I had sons, so they won't experience me the way I experienced my mom, right? So your relationship is not always going to mirror your parents. It just won't. Now you'll have some things that your parents had. I'm going to be honest with you. My mom is Native American. And you know how they say they have that fiery spirit? Yeah, she could be a mean little red chick, right? And I never wanted to be that. So I used to always tease and be like, do you want Betty Jean to come out? Because if you don't, you probably should stop saying that because she will come out. But that was her. She walked in that spirit of not taking no mess, and she would fight. I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover. So I got that from my dad. So I'm just saying your relationship would not always mirror your parents. So, don't fall into that myth that, oh, I'm going to marry him because he came from good parents. Anyway, myth. I don't know what myth I'm on, but this is another myth. Stress will eventually affect intimacy. Doesn't have to. True story. I talk to people all the time, men and women, about relationships, right? So I was talking to this one gentleman in Atlanta some years ago, and I was floored because he still had kind things to say about his ex-wife. And I'm like, so like what everybody says, so why didn't it work then? I mean, you still have a lot of respect for her. Why didn't it work? So, because he was telling me that no matter how angry they got, or no matter how tough the day was, if he felt like he needed her, even if she wasn't speaking to him at the time, or she was angry with him for something, if he felt like he needed her in an intimate way, she never said no. Never said no. But they couldn't live with each other because she wanted the core of who he was to change. We're going to talk about that too. No one will love you as you are. That's another myth. That is not true. I promise you that is not true. I sit here and talk to Brother Zaki today, right? And he said, "Ooh, I'm far from perfect," because he's been married 48 years, right? He said, "I'm far from it." And he said, "My wife is practically an angel because she accepts me for who I am. She's never tried to change me. Yes, we have some disagreements and things can get rough, things can get tough, but she's never tried to change who I am at the core, who the Creator made me, my adventure for travel, my passion for education, even at the point of threats to kill me, because he did a lot of education and educating Black Americans on the true history and where they came from, and the fact that their life didn't start as slaves. You know, they started as kings or queens or children of royalty, and all of the things that happened, and instilling the pride in them as part of his educational platform, right? So believe it or not, even for that, he's got death threats. So as a woman, as a wife, imagine saying, "Babe, maybe you should chill it. Maybe you should let somebody else teach this. I don't want to be a widow," you know? She never tried to change the message of who he is, the core of who he is, what drives him, what makes him excited about living. This man has visited 38 countries. Some trips she went, some she didn't. But the point is, she supported the fact that he wanted to travel and experience life. You guys, he is one of those people that I say, I want to be like him. I mean, you know, he's probably almost 20 years my senior, right? And he's visited 39 countries. I'm like, ooh, I got to catch up. So just the growth and just the light that it exposes you to, and the different cultures and different people, it makes you see so far past where you are that I think it even makes you a better mate with someone, because you say, hey, this little area right here ain't everything, and this ain't all that to life. I don't care what these people think. I don't care if they don't like my man or my woman. This is so small. You see so much bigger when you travel and you exposed to other countries and cultures. So I think it makes you rich as well. So that's my passion and my love. Y'all see, I will be like wheels up. I don't care if in country, out of country, I'm going somewhere. Okay, so that's a myth that no one will accept you for who you are, because the right person will, right? So I may not be perfect, but I am absolutely perfect for somebody who is also imperfect. You know, like, you know how they say you're not everybody's cup of tea, but you're somebody's mocha latte. So let me get in. I'm getting into these myths really, really quick, because I really want to share the final one that I thought was ridiculous. And then another myth that sex or intimacy, well, sex should be spontaneous all the time. Not so. Sometimes it has to be planned. It's no less effective, but sometimes you have to plan it. I mean, keep it real. It's like not all the time, especially when life gets in the way, will you feel amorous or sexy, or you know, he's getting older. He may not feel like Tarzan anymore. You know, he may not. But the point is, the point is, see, I'm cracking my own self up. The point is, it may not be spontaneous all the time, but it's still necessary to connect. Check this out. Even some of the most conservative Judeo-Christian beliefs, and if you read biblical text, it will say when you are together or married, that you should not forsake that act, except for by mutual consent. Now, you tired, he's tired. Hey, cool. But if he's not and you are, and he has a need, I mean, y'all gonna be mad at me, but you figure it out. You do it for other stuff. You'll get up and drive your kid to school because they missed the bus, because it needs to be done. So you'll do stuff for your children that you won't do for your man. Don't get me started. So it's not always going to be spontaneous. I'll say that. And on the vice versa side, it's not just the women sometimes that have excuses. Be surprised. A lot of guys that have excuses too. So, hey, if your bro calls you out and say, let's have a beer and go watch our favorite sports fan, you're going to pull some energy up and you're going to go. So same energy, same plans need to be put in place for making sure your spouse, your partner is taken care of in that area. So enough said. You should feel happy all the time is another myth. You're human. Life happens and people be peopling and people will get on your nerves and people will upset you. The car might break down. You'd be on the side of the road hot. That's not a happy time. I mean, you could be grateful for the fact that you got somebody coming to pick you up or you got legs to walk or you'll find something to be grateful for. But it doesn't mean that you're like jumping up and down in the rain and feeling like you won the lottery or in the heat because your car broke down. So let's keep it real. Because you're in a relationship, don't worry if you don't feel happy all the time. And a lot of times I would tell couples or people that live together that it's cyclical sometimes. Sometimes you're down on the bottom and then you're feeling swing back up and be like, oh, I like him again. I not only like him, man, I love him at the height. I don't know how I could do without him. And then it comes down here. He forgot to take the trash out again. He forgot to lift up the seat again. Oh my God, what am I doing? You're on the bottom side. You see what I'm saying? So it's not always going to be a happy, happy feeling, but it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with your relationship because you don't feel, like giggles and games today. Just wait a while. It'll get better. And the last one, you guys, I know this sounds funny. A myth that ugly don't cheat, because what you consider ugly, some people may not consider ugly. And even if they do consider that person not attractive, I hate to say ugly, because it can be beyond what they look like. It could be just a spirit of ugliness. You've seen it. Some of the cutest people physically can be some of the ugliest, most unattractive people in the world. And people have this thing, some people, not everybody, that believe that maybe my spouse cheated because so many people was after them because they're attractive. Next time I'm gonna get somebody ugly. Ugly cheats too. That's what I put it on. That's why I titled it Ugly Cheats. Because if it's in that person to do that, for whatever reason they feel like they are missing something, that they have to go and be dishonest or disloyal and hurt the person who loves them. Doesn't matter what they look like or what they act like. They will do it if they want to. So you can't choose somebody that you deem people would think is unattractive and say, okay, I got somebody that will never hurt me in that way again. Because, hey, it's been proven. I seen it with my own two eyes. I'll be thinking, this rascal ought to be grateful. But anyway, so it happens. Ugly cheats. And all these other myths happen as well. So I know you're probably like, well, that's why I'm single. That's why I'm happy in my singleness. And I'm not trying to change you. I am trying to keep you honest. If you're not trying to be single and you really want a relationship, and I just believe that, hey, I have a right to my own beliefs. I don't believe that we were put on this earth to do life alone. I don't believe that, because a lot of times we have so much to offer a person, not just that they have something to offer us, but we're afraid. We're afraid of being hurt. We're afraid that we're not equipped. We're afraid of the effort or the energy that it takes. So I was talking to my brother today, just met him. We sit here, talked almost 2 hours about relationships, because he's been married 48 years. He's traveled around the world. And he said when COVID hit, he felt like he had 3 angels in his life. And one of them is his wife. I'm going to let him tell his story later, but I have to say this on the behalf of the relationship squad and the people who want good quality relationships. He said The world is a little different when you're down and out and you cannot take care of yourself. He's out traveling the world, being an activist, educating, has full activity of his limbs, out there doing things fantastic, marvelous, speaking, and have all the energy to do that, but gets sick. COVID came along, knocked him off his feet. He said he could barely walk. He was bad. He said at that point, nothing could take the place of my wife in my eyes. And I will forever sing her praises because she was there. When no one else would come, she was there. So I told him, I said, you know what, please save that sentence for when we come together, because I need you to say it. I was willing to say it because people would always be like, you've been married before 3 times and you would do it again. Absolutely. Because I don't intend to do life alone, and I'm brave. And one thing anybody could ever say about me, that girl ain't scared. She will try anything. She would change careers. You know, half a century old, she's going to change a career. She'll get up and move and go somewhere. She'll travel here. She'll travel there. She'll try this business. She'll do that. I'm not afraid. So because one person may have been a joker, doesn't mean, you know, I always imagine myself, you know, a queen sitting in royalty, right? And I don't know, the court gesture, the joker ended up dressing up in some king clothing or something. I thought it was a king. I don't know. And just because I got fooled or it didn't work out, let's just say I didn't work out. Hey, maybe I wasn't the queen that he thought I was going to be, or vice versa. It's okay. The point is, one person's mistake will never dictate the rest of my life. And I shared this with a close friend of mine because she was, I'm sorry, y'all, I know this thing is glaring. I can see it. She was getting ready to go through a divorce, and it's painful, whether it's good or bad, whether you're getting out of it and it was hell. I'm going to say it. That's a real word. It was not heaven on earth. It was horrible. And you get out of it and you should have relief, even if it was bad. It's still a painful thing to go through. It's a transition. Your whole life is flipped upside down, and you literally are starting over. I'm speaking from experience, right? Even if you've gone through all that and it was extremely painful, why should that stop you from experiencing love or joy again? I would say it's no mark against you forever. You're not perfect. You make mistakes. The person you were married to makes mistakes. I'm like this. I'm not at odds with any of my exes. Now, they may not care for me, but I'm just saying, please forgive me. This is why I should have been sipping on some wine right now. But I'm not at odds with any of my exes, right? So I could see them and I can appreciate what we had and the fun things that we did, because a lot of times before a relationship goes bad, it can be very good at times, you know? Excuse me. So with that being said, I'm not at odds with any of them. I am not their enemy. I don't see them as the enemy. I appreciate the great memories we had and the things we did. But because they were not perfect and I was not perfect, that relationship didn't work out for whatever reason. I say, find your person. Do it again. You've got so much more intelligence, emotional intelligence about you should have. Please learn from your mistakes. You should have so much more information about what works and what doesn't work, what you truly want. Because I believe with everything in me, at 18 or 19, I thought I knew what I wanted, right? And at that point, you still are of the mind that you're going to change this person. They're going to want what you want. And that's just it, especially if they love you, right? They need to change and do what you want them to do. So you have all of these thoughts that are not necessarily real. So at any stage or any age, you could be in a misunderstanding to where you don't understand what it really takes to make a relationship and to love someone for who they are. and not for who you want them to be, right? And you have learned to love yourself. Because I think out of all of the problems or the issues that were in previous relationships, I had not quite understood the power of loving me. So when you love yourself, you automatically make choices that are good for you. And a lot of times that choice is a person that's good for you, right? So there's been times in the past when I made choices because I was good for that person. Have you ever done that before? I knew I could contribute. This is something I could do. I could contribute. I could be good here. I could be good there. Or on the flip side, I chose that person because they were good for my situation and my circumstance at that time and who I was at that time, not even thinking about the growth and the things that I wanted to do in the future. All that was put aside because, hey, I was married. Didn't matter what I want to do in the future. I'm going to jump in here and go with whatever they say and wonder why I was miserable, right? Well, not always miserable. But the point is, I want you to learn, above all things, learn to love who God made you, the creator, spirit, whatever you call them, who you are uniquely made to be. Your predisposition, I don't know, to chocolate cake, or your desire to be vegan or healthy, or your desire to work out, or your desire to do whatever you do, to speak to a multitude of people, to be a motivational coach and speaker. I knew that was in me, but I didn't want to dare think that, right? And so as I've stepped into the season of loving what I do, loving the fact that I can bring two people together and say, you guys, you can do this. Let me tell you the good stuff you have. Let's work on the good stuff. And if you have a desire to be together as your coach, let me show you some tools that's out there to help you do this, right? It's amazing what the right tools can do. You're out there trying to build a fence with tweezers and I don't know, something else ridiculous, tweezers and scissors. That's not the right tools. So when you're in a relationship, spend that time and understand that it's probably the most important thing you can do in the world, because what I do know, living these years that I've been on this planet, you don't believe me? Go look in the news, look at your neighbor, look at yourself. It matters who you attach yourself to. It really does. If that person doesn't accept you for who you are, let me tell you this, you got a long road to hoe, as they used to say. You got a long road to hoe if they do not accept you for who you are. Because now you got to figure out what they want you to be and try to change yourself. And now you're even not authentic. You're a liar. You're lying to yourself, and you end up not liking yourself because they don't like the person you really are. So now you're trying to be somebody else and you forget who you're supposed to be, and you have an identity crisis. That's not a comfortable place to be. So rule number one, learn some more about yourself. Ask yourself some questions, get in a quiet place and write down, if money and time was no object, what would I be? What would I be doing? Who would I be with? Who would I be spending my time with? What would I be doing? If money and time was no object, take the kids out of the equation, take the husband out. I'm not saying run off on your kids and husband, but listen to what I'm saying. Write it down, see who that person is at the core, and start developing what it would take to look like that. And what I do know, I'm coming to an end, but what I do know as an individual, as a person, if you can dream it, if you can think it, and if you can see it, that is who God designed you to be. I don't care how big it is. It's like, how am I going to do that? Reframe your thoughts. If you can think it, if you can see it, you can seize it. If you can hold it in your heart, you can hold it in your hand. So that is the motivation I want to give you. So those of you, don't let somebody shame you into wanting a relationship. Yes, you are perfectly fine single if that is what you desire to be. Just make sure you have some good friends around you, because if you get sick and you have COVID, I'm going to pray for you over the phone. I may even DoorDash you some soup, but I'm not coming. So Only person gonna come is the person in the house with you, because hey, they've been exposed anyway, right? So I'm being silly. I just thought about what he said today, and it was so beautiful to me, and it was a picture of what I see. I see a mate traveling the world with me, us laughing, experiencing new things, joy, having, just wonderful, intimate conversations and interactions all around the world at any point of time, and loving on people and sharing experiences. There is someone who wants what I want, and that is exciting to know. All I have to do is stay in my authentic self and keep doing life. That person comes around, and because of who I am, I recognize that, right? And what will happen to some of us, we will miss that person if we're expecting them to be absolutely perfect, and not allowing, understanding that we have imperfection, but not allowing them to have it. It's a mistake. So the person that is your person, is your guy, is your girl, they're going to have flaws. Probably obvious, more obvious than yours, because, we can always see somebody else's flaws better than ourselves, right? They'll have flaws. And you'll be like, ooh, I don't know, I could do somebody like that. But they love me for who I am, right? They celebrate who I am. They're excited about me and what I do. And all of that, that's probably your person, even with the flaws and imperfections. They give you this 80-20 ratio and said if they're 80% of what you want and 20% of not what you want, it's probably the perfect person for you. Not perfect, but perfect for you. So I don't know who I'm talking to, but don't let anybody talk you out of or shame you into not wanting a relationship when you want one. Because, at one point that happened to me is like, why are you even thinking about marriage again? Do you? It's so freeing to be able to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. And you don't have to ask nobody. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. Well, hey, what's wrong with discussing it? I don't think you would have to ask the right person, but you may have to say, hey, babe, I want to do this. I want to do that. What do you think? And a lot of times they'll give you good feedback that maybe you hadn't even thought of. I'm talking to somebody. I don't know who it is. Not just me. I'm talking to somebody. So tonight's show, I didn't have anybody else on because I wanted to kind of talk to you one-on-one, right? And thank you all for popping in. I wanted to talk to you one-on-one. If you really want a relationship, be honest with yourself first. Stop lying and saying, I don't want a relationship because I don't want what comes with it. Well, you come with it, and you got you. You'll be stuck with you anyway. So learn what you want, what you like, what gifts you bring to the world, and go through the life bringing that gift and watch and see, doesn't the person who can love you as you are will connect with you? Just don't want you to miss them thinking about all these myths that are out there. Debunk the myths. Reality is, have real conversations. That's going to create the real relationships in your life. So this has been Pat Nash Talks. Y'all know I will sit on here and talk. I can talk forever because I like talking to you. But I got other stuff to do too. So I'm going to say until next Sunday, I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to say, I wish you love and light always, peace and blessings until we meet again. So that's it. Good night, everybody.
Hi, I'm Pat Nash, and I want to speak to you a little bit about dreams, about hope, about maybe giving up or wondering why you haven't moved forward. Someone asked me, how did you get here to be a relationship coach? It actually came out of a need for myself and what I observed looking around after I asked myself a couple of questions. Why was I not doing the things that I wanted to do? Why had I gone through divorce? Why am I not doing anything that I set out to do? You see, as a teenager, as a young person, doing pretty well in high school, I had all of these dreams set out for me. I was going to take over the world. But at some point, life happened. I realized I was not the only one. You see, there's a lot of us who stopped hoping, who stopped dreaming, who stopped chasing our dreams or going after our dreams, because we don't have to chase anything. When we look internally and figure out what it is that's holding us back, the sky's the limit, and you don't have to chase anything. You attract it.